This group's story is one of togetherness and success. These Motown legends teamed up in high school, spent over 4 decades together without a personnel change, and in between became a top-tier act on a label with no shortage of talent, ranking with the Temptations and the Supremes as its most consistent hitmakers, where many other R&B vocal groups spotlighted a tenor. The centerpiece of today's video is all about the 4 tops. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. The 4 Tops began life in 1953 when all of the members were attending Detroit area high schools. Levi Stubbs and Abdul Duke Fakir went to Pershing and met Northern students Ronaldo Obi Benson and Lawrence Payton at a friend's birthday party, where the quartet members first sang together. Sensing an immediate chemistry, they began rehearsing together and dubbed themselves the 4 Ames. Peyton's cousin Roquel Davis, a budding songwriter who sometimes sang with the group during his early days, helped them get an audition with Chess Records in 1956. Although Chess was more interested in Davis, who went on to become Berry Gordy's songwriting partner, they also signed the 4 Ames, who became the 4 Tops to avoid confusion with the Ames brothers. The 4 Tops' lone Chess single, Kiss Me Baby, was followed by similarly brief stints at Red Top and Riverside. They signed with Columbia in 1960 and were steered in a more upscale supper club direction, singing jazz and pop standards. Without any hit records to their name, they toured frequently, developing a polished stage presence and an experienced supper club act, as well as supporting Billy Eckstine. In 1963, Berry Gordy, who had worked with roadkill Billy Davis as a songwriter in the late 1950s, convinced the Tops to join the roster of his growing Motown record company. During their early Motown years, the 4 Tops recorded jazz standards for the company's Workshop Jazz Records label. In addition, they sang backup on Motown singles by the Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, and others. In 1964, Motown's main songwriting and production team, Holland Dozier Holland, created a complete instrumental track without any idea of what to do with it. They decided to craft the song as a more mainstream pop song for the 4 Tops and proceeded to create Baby I Need Your Loving.
Some say it's a sign of weakness for a man.
On its release in mid-1964, this single made it to number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. The first follow-up single, Without the One You Love, Life's Not Worthwhile, this single just missed both the pop and R&B top 40 charts, but Ask the Lonely, written and produced by Motown A&R head William Mickey Stevenson with Ivy Joe Hunter, was a top 30 pop hit and a top 10 R&B hit in early 1965.
For losing a love that will never return.
After their first number 1 hit, I Can't Help Myself,
And I try, but every time I see your face,
in June 1965, the 4 Tops released a long series of successful hit singles. Among the first wave of these hits were the top 10. It's the Same Old Song, Something About You, Shake Me, Wake Me,
these walls my neighbors when they sing.
And Loving You Is Sweeter Than Ever.
'Cause I really need you. Really need you. And I need.
Holland Dozier Holland wrote most of Levi Stubbs' vocals in a tenor range near the top of his range in order to get a sense of strained urgency in his gospel preacher-inspired leads. They also wrote additional background vocals for a female group, the Andantes, on many of the songs to add a high end to the low voice harmony of the Tops. Ivy Jo Hunter's Loving You Is Sweeter Than Ever was one of a few exceptions. August 1966 brought the release of the Four Tops' all-time biggest hit and one of the most popular Motown songs ever. Reach Out, I'll Be There reached #1 on the US pop and R&B charts and the UK chart and soon became the group's signature song.
All on your own, and you need a hand to hold.
It was almost immediately followed by the similar sounding Standing in the Shadows of Love.
But it's for sure, I ain't got nothing but sorrow.
Its depiction of heartbreak reflecting the opposite of the optimism in Reach Out. It was another top 10 hit for the Top. The band recorded the first live album, Four Tops Live, at 2 dates in mid-1966, and Motown released a recording in November of that year. The top 10 US hit Bernadette centered around a man's all-consuming obsession with his lover.
Told you Bernadette, when they cannot control themselves, Bernadette.
Continued the Four Tops' successful run into April 1967, followed by the top 20 hit 7 Rooms of Gloom.
I miss your love, I once have known.
And You Keep Running Away.
Everything I have, my life I'll share with you.
By now, the Tops were the most successful male Motown act in the United Kingdom and in the United States. To most true soul fans, they were second to the Temptations. With the group's popularity growing, the Four Tops began experimenting with more mainstream pop hits. When Motown moved its headquarters to Los Angeles in 1972, the Four Tops parted ways with the company, choosing to remain in their hometown of Detroit. They signed with ABC Dunhill and were teamed with producers-songwriters Dennis Lambert and Brian Potter, who did their best to recreate the group's trademark Motown sound. The immediate result was Keeper of the Castle.
Be their destiny's director, and they'll do well to follow.
The Four Tops' first top 10 hit in several years. They followed it in early 1973 with Ain't No Woman Like the One I've Got.
She can build me up when it's down, I'm going.
A gold-selling smash that proved to be their final top 5 pop hit. That year, they also recorded the theme song to the film Shaft in Africa. Are You Man Enough?
Are you gonna let them shoot you down when the evil flies?
Several more R&B chart hits followed over the next few years, with the last being 1976's Catfish.
Hypnotizing, the girl is mesmerizing. Hey!
After a final ABC album in 1978, the Tops resurfaced on Casablanca in 1981, the first single for their new label. When She Was My Girl went all the way to #1 on the R&B chart, just missing the pop top 10.
She was my girl. Oh, what joy she would bring.
The Four Tops rejoined Motown in 1983, the year of the company's 25th anniversary, and toured extensively with the Temptations. They also recorded a couple albums of new material and wound up leaving Motown amid confusion over musical direction. Meanwhile, Stubbs provided the voice for Audrey the man-eating plant in the film version of Little Shop of Horrors. The Four Tops next caught on with Arista, where in 1988 they scored their last top 40 pop hit, the aptly titled Indestructible. Following the 1995 release of their final studio album, A Christmas Recording, they've stuck to performing and touring. In 1997, Lawrence Payton passed away due to liver cancer, ending the astonishing longevity of the original lineup. Theo Peoples, who had recently spent 6 years with the Temptations, was eventually added to the lineup. The group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990 and into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1999. The Four Tops were inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame in 2005. The Four Tops were honored with an induction into the Rhythm Blues Hall of Fame at the inaugural ceremony held at Cleveland State University's Waytagen Auditorium on Saturday, August 17, 2013. Early the next decade, a stroke sidelined Stubbs and prompted the addition of Ronnie McNair, who had been the group's musical director. Benson passed of lung cancer in 2005 and was replaced by Lawrence Payton Jr. Stubbs, whose last performance was at the Four Tops' 50th anniversary concert the previous year, passed away in his sleep in 2008. 3 years later, Peoples left the group, enabling the entry of Harold Spike Barnhart. All the while and into the 2020s, Fakir continued to lead the Four Tops on stage. Only days after announcing his departure, Fakir passed on July 22, 2024 at the age of 88. Today, the group consists of Michael Brock, Ronnie McNair, Lawrence Payton Jr., and Alexander Morris. Now, before we go, I have a few questions for you all. What is your favorite song from the Four Tops? Also, what is the greatest group to come out of Motown?